What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another review from Monday Night Raw. This one is from April 1st, 1996, the Raw after WrestleMania 12. Shawn Michaels is your new WWF champion. The boyhood dream has come true for the Heartbreak Kid. The show as a whole is nothing without that Iron Man match, and that being WrestleMania. I think I might have said British Bulldog versus Bret Hart at the December pay per view was a perfect match. No, I was completely off. Bret versus Shawn at WrestleMania 12 is a perfect match, a masterpiece. I've always had a weird soft spot for that match, and now that I have the backstory and the build leading up to that match, it came off even better than I remember it. There are some other moments from the show worth talking about, like Goldust and Piper in the backlot brawl with the OJ chase scene. That was pretty funny. But also Piper stripping Goldust down and kissing him was a moment to remember, and the Ultimate Warrior coming back to squash Helmsley in a quick match, which also led to a backstage segment where Mark Mero made his debut. He's coming over from WCW, where he used to be Johnny B. Bad. And we also saw the debut of Sable, who was accompanying Hunter as his valet for WrestleMania. Undertaker versus Diesel wasn't great. It was what you would expect from these two big guys, ending with Taker winning and ending the rivalry. The one person that was noticeable by his absence was Razor Ramon. I used to think that he was injured, but I did see the build up to this on YouTube, and I left a comment on there. Didn't really expect anybody to reply because nobody replies to YouTube comments anymore. But I asked in there, like, what happened to Razor? Wasn't he supposed to be going up against Goldust, or what happened to the storyline with Goldust? And why was Razor taken out of WrestleMania? So it appears that he failed a drug test around the time, and Racer was already iffy about doing the whole angle with Goldust and the gay angle that they were going with. So it looks like they just said, "Fuck it, we'll take Racer out, put Piper in." And I think Roddy Piper was a fine substitute, but I wish they could have explained it a little bit better on TV. But whatever. It is what it is. We got what we got, and I think it came off better with Piper because he's just a unhinged crazy man. But we will probably still see Razor Ramon somewhere down the line because it's still a couple months away before the curtain call or even when they jump over to WCW. But yeah, anyways, WrestleMania 12 is a one match show. If you wanted to go back and watch one match on the show, obviously I would have to say the Iron Man match is the only thing. But it does have some other memorable moments that you can go back and watch, like I mentioned earlier with all that stuff. But let's get to this episode. We have a new signature to start off the show. Same voiceover, but new graphics. We started off with the debut of Mankind in a match. Quick backstory to Mankind's last couple years. He was in WCW as Cactus Jack and was feuding with Kevin Sullivan in his final days, but wasn't really anything interesting, at least in my opinion. Then he went over to ECW and he was involved with Tommy Dreamer and Raven and their feud. He was a fan favorite, but later turned on Tommy Dreamer and started cutting some good promos. Can I tell you what he said? Not really, because most Mick Foley promos are more about the emotion and the hidden messages. So you really have to listen to what he says. It can't really be repeated and have the same impact, if that makes any sense. Some of the fans at this show know what I'm talking about because they started to chant "He's hardcore," which is what they would chant to Mankind in ECW.
And Mankind now hammering away on Bob Sparkplug Holly, continuing the attack.
Anyways, Mankind picks up the win with the mandible claw over Bob Holly in his first match on Raw. Next, they show us some more highlights from WrestleMania, but we also see Sable sitting in the crowd, who is Helmsley's valet, but I believe married to Mark Mero in real life at the time. Both of those guys get into it at WrestleMania, but a quick F Mary kill for you guys: Marlena, Sunny, Sable. Leave it down in the comments. Speaking of Mero, he is also making his Raw debut by taking on Isaac Yankem. Backstory for Mero: he was in WCW before this. He was the TV champion and had a feud with DDP and his wife. What's up with Mero and storylines having to do with his wife or other people's wives? He also had a match on Nitro that I remember versus Eddie Guerrero, which is one of my favorite matches from the short time that I did watch Nitro. I'm not watching it right now. I'm keeping up with it a little bit, but I'm not watching the entire episodes. It ended in a draw, but it got both of them over as good wrestlers. Eddie, though, showed that he was a better wrestler in that match. Crowd really wanted him to go over Mark Mero in that match, if I remember correctly. But during this match, Hunter made his way out and sat next to Sable. Mero had some good moves, but they're not really executed clean. Same when he was in WCW. He has an outside dive that he hits here, but it isn't that smooth. And then he picks up the win with a sunset pin from the top rope. It was a bigger guy that he was wrestling, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on this night. So I'm going to reserve my judgment on the technique of Mark Mero right now. So he goes over to Sable and Hunter. Sable slaps the nose off Helmsley and leaves with Mero. So we have two new guys going into the chase for the Dominance Award. Mankind, and now Mark Mero. And interestingly enough, Mark Mero is feuding with the guy that the award is actually named after. We then see some footage from the Free For All, which was the show before WrestleMania, basically a pre show, but apparently the tag titles were vacant. News to me. The Godwins took on the Body Donnas for the titles, and with a little distraction from Sunny, she helped her guys win the belts. I want to say the Smoking Guns were champs before this, but I can't remember why or when the titles were lost or vacated. Here tonight, we have a tag match where the Body Donnas take on the team of Aldo Montoya and Barry Horowitz, an incredible duo, if I say so myself. Montoya hits his double headlock takeover and head scissors to the Body Donnas. Sid tries to chain wrestle with Barry, but you can't do that with the man that has 1,002 holds. They resort to hitting a double flapjack on Aldo while the referee was distracted by, I'm guessing he was distracted by just the aura, the presence of Barry Horowitz because there was nothing else going on. Montoya goes to the outside, and as he tries to come in, Skip tries to suplex him inside, but Aldo suplexes to the outside. Nasty landing. Then Aldo hits a splash to the outside. The Incredible Duo gets some close falls, but it ends when Skip hits a Hurricane Rana off the top, and Sip hits a seated senton to Aldo Montoya for the win. This would not have happened if he would have just tagged in Barry Horowitz, but Montoya was hogging up the spotlight, cost his team, and Barry continues to get screwed by everyone in the World Wrestling Federation. Up next, though, we have the new WWF champion Shawn Michaels in an interview with Vince McMahon in the ring. This could have been Barry Horowitz if it wasn't for all the screw jobs. I'm just saying. They say that Shawn wanted to be champ since he was 12 years old. Well, Barry Horowitz wanted to be champion since he was 11 years old. So why isn't anybody talking about that? Little bit of a mixed reaction for Shawn. HBK thanks all the fans whether they like him or hate him. They tell us that for some reason, Jerry Lawler is facing Shawn next week, and Diesel will be sitting at ringside for commentary because he will also be next in line. Shawn puts over Brett and says he will always be a champion in Shawn's eyes. Always is a strong word there. I hope he stays true to that statement. And also, why is Diesel getting a shot? He lost at WrestleMania. Why isn't The Undertaker getting this spot? Shawn ends it by saying this.
Big Daddy Cool, you and I are great friends, regular Skipper and Gilligan, but that ship has sunk. And Diesel, you and I make good friends, but we make better enemies. And in your house, you're gonna be eating some chin music, and myself and the clique are gonna dance all over your face.
So at the next In Your House, it will be the best friends turned enemies for the WWF title. They then shill a Shawn Michaels WrestleMania plaque. Someone let me know if they've ever purchased one of these items that had a piece of the wrestling mat. Do you think it's legit? I don't, but I also don't know why they would lie about it because it's not that hard to do it. Just cut it up, put it into different frames, and sell it. But at the same time, it sounds like a lot of work, so why would they do it? You know what I mean? I could see it either way, being legit or being a scam. So moving on, we have The Undertaker taking on Justin Hug Bradshaw, and Bradshaw controls the first part of the match, even hits his clothesline super early, but that doesn't end it. He also hits a shoulder block from the top rope for a near fall. He tries for it a second time, but Undertaker catches him into a power slam. Bradshaw hits another clothesline and a big boot, but Taker looks over to Paul Bearer to get power from the urn, and this allows Taker to hit the chokeslam and the tombstone. But before he can cover Bradshaw, Mankind runs out and causes a DQ and continues to beat down the dead man. He hits a running elbow drop from the apron to the floor and gives Taker the mandible claw. Mankind keeps leaving and returning like 3 different times, but that was a great way to make a debut. Besides going after the WWF title, Undertaker being your first feud is a huge deal, especially taking him out the way that Mankind did. And that's how the show ends. And I didn't know what to expect from this show, but compared to previous Raws after WrestleMania, this one was by far the best one. Just like the Go Home show was, because they're starting to actually bring up what happens on the previous night's pay per view instead of having an update with Todd or Doc Hendricks and nothing on the actual show having to do with the storylines from the pay per view, if that makes sense. You go back to like the WrestleMania 9 Raw after WrestleMania, and there was completely no mention. I mean, there might have been like one or two like on the actual show, kind of telling us what happened, but for the most part, everything on the Raw after WrestleMania 9, it was just like completely new, nothing to do with the night before. Because think about it, Hulk Hogan was the champion. He didn't even come out. They might have mentioned it on the WrestleMania update, but besides that, no Hulk Hogan, no Yokozuna, no Bret Hart, no Brutus Beefcake. Like it was just all over the place. But now I'm guessing because of Nitro, they have to keep these storylines going, and especially since they now have the In Your House to build to, so they really have to keep everything going. And they've made Raw. a must-watch show if you wanted to keep up with everything. So I'll give this episode a good grade. Two debuts with Mankind and Mark Mero, and they both are already inserted into a feud, so that's good. We don't have to see them in jobber matches because there's nothing for them. I appreciate that they were introduced and they actually have a plan for them. Body Donnas versus the Incredible Duo was also a good title match, especially to let us know that they are the new tag champions, since I had no idea they were vacated to begin with. And we see the new WWF champion come out to address the fans. And while I still don't get how Diesel gets a title shot after losing at WrestleMania, at least the WWF champion has a feud ready to go against the top guy. And we haven't seen this match in like a year or so, and the roles have been reversed. So it's kind of a new feud if you think about it. So I'm down for this feud as Shawn's first title defense. So yeah, pretty good show to move us forward from WrestleMania, which is what it should be, the culmination to all the feuds at WrestleMania, and then the next night is like a new season has begun. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next one, sub so you won't miss it, or just keep checking back every day. That also works. Do what you want, but just make sure you don't miss any uploads. So, with all that being said, I am out.